All right, trig 10, which is the last section of the first part of trig. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a value and going to be able to express as a positive acute angle. All right, so what we have here is, I'm going to apply it to an example here. If you're given cosine of, let's say, 212 degrees, you have to ask yourself some questions when you're asked to express this as a positive acute angle. You're going to say, what quadrant is this in? Well, 212 is in quadrant 3. All right, then you're going to go, you need to find the reference angle. Well, at 212 in quadrant 3, I'm nearest the 180, so I would subtract that and say that the reference is 32 degrees. The question number 3 is I need to say, okay, well, what's the sign of the function in that quadrant? SIGN of the function. And when I look at cosine in quadrant 3, I know it's negative because the x values are negative in quadrant 3. So now 4, I need to rewrite using all of this information. And the way we rewrite it is we're always going to put the sign, the function, whether it's sine, cosine, tangent, secant, cosecant, doesn't matter, whatever the function is, and then the reference angle. So for this particular problem, cosine of 212 is in quadrant 3, it references 32, and cosine is negative. So my answer would be negative cosine 32 degrees. But I have to ask these questions. So let's try a couple more. Tangent of negative 140. Well, negative 140 means I'm going downwards, and I'm not quite to 180, but I'm past 90. So that's quadrant 3. Quadrant 3, then 140 to 180 references 40. And tangent in quadrant 3 is positive. So I would write positive tangent 40. And I do want the sign written out in front. For right now, while we're learning everything, I do want positives and negatives always written out. All right, let's try one more. The sine of 310. I want you to try that on your own, and I want you to come to class tomorrow and be able to answer that. All right, the second thing we're going to do is now we're going to find values. Now, we can only find values of exacts because that's the only thing we know how to do without a calculator. We're going to find values of exacts after rewriting. For example, the sine of 150 degrees. Well, first of all, I would say sine of 150 is quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 references 30 degrees because it's close to the 180. And then sine in quadrant 2 is positive. So I would say positive sine of 30 degrees. Well, I should know that sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. And because of the sign out front, it's positive 1/2. And for right now, I do want you to write and keep that positive. This work I want to see as well. So let's try it again. Cosine of 210 degrees. Well, cosine of 210, that's quadrant 3. Quadrant 3 is 180, which means it references 30 degrees. Cosine in quadrant 3 is negative. So this is actually negative cosine of 30 degrees, which is negative root 3 over 2. Okay. Tangent of 135 degrees. And sine of negative 13 pi over 6. I want you to do those two, finish up your notes, and I want you to come to class with those answered as well. And that's going to be trig 10.